My parents tried to force me to marry a serial killer when I was 15. 20 years later, they tried again. This story has haunted every part of my life. I've never told it publicly before, but I feel like I have to now. Maybe it will help someone. Maybe it'll just help me finally breathe. When I was 15, my parents tried to force me into a marriage with a man I didn't know. At first, they told me he was just someone they respected, and that the marriage was tradition. But I did my own digging. He wasn't some family friend. He was a convicted criminal under investigation for multiple murders. Women, over 100 missing in the state, and his name kept surfacing. I found articles online, rumors, police investigations, women who disappeared after he'd shown interest. He was never officially convicted at the time due to lack of evidence, but everyone knew. When I told my parents I wanted nothing to do with him, they got angry. My mom slapped me across the face so hard I fell onto the carpet. My dad stood by, arms crossed, watching like I deserved it. I tried to call the police that night, hiding in the bathroom, shaking with fear. I never got past dialing. My mom kicked down the door, took my phone, and smashed it on the floor. Then she grabbed me by the hair and dragged me back to my room. She locked the door from the outside. I waited until they fell asleep. I climbed out the window barefoot, ran 3 blocks to a gas station, and called the police from a payphone. They picked me up, and after hearing everything, they arrested my parents that same night. For once, I thought I was free. But 3 years later, when I turned 18, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a set of marriage documents, pre-signed by my parents and the man from all those years ago. The serial killer. His signature was there in black ink, staring at me like it was waiting. I tore the papers in half and threw them into the fireplace. But the next day I saw them again. I looked out my back window and saw my entire extended family in the yard, my parents, aunts, uncles, and him, the man. He was wearing a suit. My mother was holding a wedding dress in her arms. I locked every door and went outside through the garage to confront them. I told them to leave, to get off my property, that I'd call the police again. That's when my father grabbed me and threw me to the ground. He held me down while my mother forced me into the white dress right there on the grass. The man was standing under a tree, adjusting his tie, watching me with a twisted smile. I screamed. I told them I didn't want this. I begged them to stop. Every time I screamed, my parents hit me. My mother slapped me until my face was numb. My father twisted my arm behind my back. The serial killer walked toward me. I could smell his cologne. He leaned in to kiss me. I turned my face away and slapped him as hard as I could. Then I ran. My father tackled me near the porch. I struggled until I could push him off. I got inside, slammed the door, and locked every bolt. I grabbed my backup phone from my bedroom and called the police again. They arrived within minutes. My parents were arrested. So was the man. They were charged with assault, trespassing, and conspiracy to commit forced marriage. All 3 of them sued me in retaliation. I won in court. They had no legal ground. But it wasn't over. Years later, I was married to the love of my life. We had a son 10 years old. I was finally moving on. Until the nightmare came back. I was 34. We were walking through a downtown plaza one morning when I saw them. My parents, alive, walking side by side with the man. He had escaped prison, so had they. They approached us slowly, like they were walking down an aisle. Before I could run, the man grabbed my husband and restrained him. My son screamed and backed away, terrified. My mother walked up to me and told me, calm as ever, that I was finally going to marry the man. That I was divorcing my husband and coming home. I told her she was insane. I told her I was not their daughter anymore, and they had no power over me. She slapped me across the face. Someone from the crowd nearby called the police. I couldn't even hear the sirens over the blood rushing through my ears. The police arrived. My parents and the man were arrested again. This time it was meant to be for life. But life didn't mean what it used to. 5 years passed. I was constantly looking over my shoulder. We moved twice. I changed jobs. I had another child, a daughter this time. I never told them the full story. And then one day it started again. I went to file for a restraining order because I kept getting letters with no return address. The clerk at the station looked confused when I handed in the paperwork. He told me I was already listed as having a mental disorder. That I was not currently allowed to file new restraining orders without a psychiatric evaluation. I was stunned. I asked him what he was talking about. That's when my parents walked into the station, along with the man. They told the officers I was unstable. That I had been off my medication for months. The serial killer pulled out a prescription bottle with my name printed on the label. I told the officer I'd never seen those pills in my life. But they didn't listen. Before I could argue more, I was restrained and sedated. I blacked out before I could scream. When I woke up, I was on the floor of my parents' living room. My dress was torn. There were kiss marks all over my face. The man was standing in front of a mirror, adjusting a white suit. My parents stood nearby, clapping, smiling. I got to my feet. I swung a lamp at the serial killer and ran. I made it 2 blocks barefoot until I flagged down a driver and screamed at them to call the police. The final trial was long and brutal. But it ended with justice. The court had every piece of evidence. The break-ins, the forced dressings, the kidnapping, the fake prescriptions, the attempted marriage, and the physical abuse. All 3 of them were sentenced to death. The execution was public, lethal electrocution. I didn't attend. I couldn't bring myself to watch. But I felt peace for the first time. That peace didn't last long. My grandparents, furious that their son and daughter were put to death, sued me. Said I had destroyed the family. I showed them every file, every photo, every legal record. They called it lies. They called it betrayal. They said I belonged in prison with them. I won the case, but half of my extended family never spoke to me again. That was fine. I had my husband. I had my son. I had my daughter. And for once I had freedom. No dress, no threats, no serial killer in the backyard. Just freedom. And I will protect it with everything I have.